Yeah, we're on fiber optic now, so they can't get us. Well, let's see what happens. We had famous last words have been sometimes worse than that. Hello, everyone. This is Luca Majno. We're here with Frank Gregory Ford once again. This is another episode of Global News Update on TLBTV, courtesy of the Liberty Beacon Project. And this is where we give you complete and backstage up-to-date info as to the developments occurring in our world today. And as I love to mention, and I won't mention every show because we might lose people, but it's just in order to understand what's going on today, we have to understand what happened in the past. And frequently, we like, or I like, taking us back in the past and explaining a very definite course and signature of genocide that's happened here with the original people, and that's happening right now with Palestine, et cetera, et cetera. So, Greg, how are you today before we dive ourselves into all this?
Oh, I'm in pretty good form, other than still being annoyed about Facebook telling me that I can't speak the way I want to speak on your show.
Right.
Nice try, Facebook.
Well, yeah. I think they're passing laws trying to make it illegal to boycott Israel. So what I did, I made sure my cover photo on Facebook was absolutely that, boycott. There was a picture of a jet with all kinds of different logos of companies underneath.
No, I just started reading a book today. Okay, it was brought to me by my very good friend Don, and it is called The Host and The Parasite. What does that sound like to you, Luca?
Right.
What it's about? Yes, right. And I'm going to be able to give quotes from that book, okay, about the exploitation and the symbiosis between Israel, the House of Rothschild, and how they have attached themselves to the largest of the United States people. And APAC. I'm really going after APAC. All right. So there we go. Now they can stop and they can leave my country alone, and they can quit killing Americans anytime they want, and then I'll stop. All right. But until that time, we've got 3,000 dead Americans to remember, killed by Israelis, not Saudis. Okay, not the House of Saud, and of course, the whole thing was authorized by the Bush crime family. So, good. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Well, I'm going to ask you a favor, because in our segment, Native American segment, Greg, you have the choice tonight. I'm offering you either a story on blood quantum or a story on the TSALAGI legend of the creation story.
So there you go again about my poor Cherokee. Okay.
Well, I'll give you the options. It's either talking about blood quantum. Actually, we're going to be talking about blood quantum tonight. So maybe I'll ask you if you want to hear the TSALAGI legend of creation. It's really cool.
All right. Let's do it.
I'd love to start out with that. And what I'll do is I'll share screens with you and show you the picture that I'm going to be using. And don't give it away when you see it, because you're going to be seeing it first. Well, this is how it goes. The Creator gathered all of creation and said, I want to hide something from the humans until they're ready for it. It is the realization that they create their own reality. The eagle said, give it to me, I'll take it to the moon. Creator said, no, one day they'll go there and find it. The salmon said, I'll bury it at the bottom of the ocean. No, they'll go there too. The buffalo said, I'll bury it on the Great Plains. And the Creator said, they'll cut into the skin of the earth and they'll find it even there. And then Grandmother Mole, who lives in the breast of Mother Earth, who has no physical eyes, but sees with spiritual eyes, she said, put it inside of them. Creator said, it is done. Isn't that cool?
There we go.
That's the way it should be. But it isn't, unfortunately. That's what it's like in a matriarchal system. Well, we're living in a patriarchal system. So what I wanted to do with Snapshot tonight, after starting with the creation story, was to explain to people very briefly, what warriors are. today. Warriors confront the evil that most people refuse to acknowledge. And that's what our co-host slash guest, Gregory Ford, is. He is a warrior. If you want to see the truth, you have to be brave enough to look. Another hard truth. But this is what it's coming to. And we have to really dig and we have to really research to find what the truth is. America was never great, says the truth. Killing 100 million Native Americans, killing more than 20 million people in 37 countries since the end of World War II, supporting and creating the most brutal dictators and terrorist groups, unconditional support of the Zionist regime, atomic attack to Japan, colonization in other nations, racial and sexual discrimination, police brutality, more than 18 trillion in debt. Let that sink in. And that's probably one paragraph of the book that Greg can write about how America was never great. It was only great when the Native Americans did not own it. They coexisted with it. Oh, look, job creators. Huh? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, look at this, Greg. Somebody had the bright idea to make a correlation between slavery and the war on drugs. And it's exactly the same. Capture the offenders, fill up the prisons, force them to work, collect your payment, and then demand respect for your badge. It was the same 200 years ago, or even 300 years ago with the Native Americans, as it was with the blacks, as it is with us today. This is where we are, because we have let it happen. 10,000 years our nations have lived and thrived here. Now the world is finally starting to be ready to learn that we are far more significant than we appear to be. This is what the truth is. And it was called Turtle Island before. It was called Turtle Island. This is what dictatorship looked like in the beginning of the year 2000. I think this is 2001/5, around that time of BELO MONTE dam being constructed in the Amazon. This is what it looked like. On the left of the image, you have the guy that goes home to his kids and his his spouse or whatever, after a day's work. And on the right, you have somebody that's completely uprooted, genocidally treated, his land completely destroyed by people that are just interested in money. This is a really good one that I wanted to bring to light today, because this is what they call neo-colonialism. And I want people to research that. Neo-colonialism means that the people kill themselves after a while. The invader doesn't have to do anything. He sits back and watches, the people kill themselves off. And that's what it's been like. And it's tragic. Neo-colonialism, it's a word I learned a while back. Blood quantum, very quickly. I have to read this because I wrote it today. And it's for people to understand. It's an incredible insult. It's the measuring and the breeding of horses, of dogs, and animals. It's the original lie, really. It's the only one that works with the bought-off Indians. The federally recognized tribes, the apples that see to the destruction of their own people at a price, at a profit, no less. Blood quantum is a fraud set up by a conquering government instead of out-and-out genocide, when they, it would have been too obvious to kill them off. So let's completely devour them from the inside out. Exactly what they're doing now with Israel today. They're killing America from the inside out. It's exactly the same tactics. They're telling the Native Americans that they're being treated like animals and like, dogs and horses that they breed. Just like in Africa, same thing, exactly the same thing that we did over there. Take a seat at the table, right? We torture and kill 2 billion sentient living beings every week. 10,000 entire species are wiped out every year because of the actions of one. And now we're facing the 6th mass extinction in cosmological history. If any other organism did this, a biologist would consider them a virus. Greg?
What can I say to all this? It's all true. And if you were to check, our listener base, you'll find that either they're not there or they're out sleeping somewhere. All right. Yeah, yes, it's acknowledged. As the Dalai Lama says, it's not enough to agree, all right, to say something is bad. You have to act. That's what I've always said. You have to act, all right?
Well,
highly placed criminals write
yes,
the rules that make their crimes legal.
right. This is how they work.
Boy, how true.
They
As somebody just told me recently, is that there's nothing more hideous than to watch the creation of new laws. Okay, they compared it to making sausage. All right,
right.
how true.
Well, today we're celebrating nearly a century of crime. Barack Obama happens to be in there with the Chicago Mafia. I thought that was kind of cute. Just a word on war very quickly from Harry Patch. Even though, organized might be written with a Z instead of an S, war is organized murder and nothing else. That's all it is. Organized murder. Period. ISIS is CIA. There's another.
Thank you. I agree with that.
It's
as my good friend Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi said, hey, it is agency, and he was Mossad.
right.
All right.
This is what I put on my cover page. Save lives, stop Zionism, boycott Israel, and that's with all the logos underneath. I'd like people to put this on pause too, if they can, to look at this. Israel is simply the state of Rothschild. That's all it is. It's a Rothschild creation. And I strongly recommend for people to put that on pause and give a look at it, because it's the truth is really hard to look at. But this is what we're doing. Greg, very quickly in the news, Northrop Grumman wins $429 million in U.S. defense contract from the Pentagon. Right, and you know what? You know who the companies are profiting from war? Hello, General Dynamics, Raytheon, BAE Systems, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, just to name a few. Look at the billions, and this is only in 2012. Mom, why do we have wars? Hon, because we're ruled by an elite group of psychopaths who own the banks that control the governments and the media. They fund both sides of the war for profit, and they manufacture the consent of the public through the propaganda of the media. So, Greg, I didn't want to take up all our time, but I just had to throw a few things in there because this is so much what we're talking about. Oh, I forgot my wall. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, I got to come back to this one. Oh, heaven forbid, this would not be a show without this one. Remember this, a wall big enough to keep them out is also big enough to keep you in.
Oh. Yes. And I mean, listeners can have all the questions that they want aimed at me, because one of my jobs providing medical support was to the California National Guard while they constructed a wall. Forget the political correct bullshit, okay? That's not applicable here. It is a wall. And Donald Trump, our illustrious president, doesn't even know that it exists, okay? The situation is that, yes, it was made several years ago with the manpower and the funding of the California National Guard, and I was one of the medical support teams that helped the construction workers build that wall from the Pacific Ocean to the Arizona border. Okay, well, the Devil's Alley is on the other side of that other end of that fence, okay? And it runs from 25 yards in the Pacific Ocean to the Arizona-California border, okay? So, yeah, and yes, it did change things. But somebody needs to brief Donald Trump, all right? Very clearly, he doesn't understand that. He's making some really serious mistakes carrying on about a wall, okay, that already exists, but he's attempting to charge somebody a lot of money for it. One thing I never understood is, being a member of the armed forces, I don't care how big the object is, okay, physical objects have to have fire, okay? They have to have gun support. No matter how big you make it, people will always find a way around it, or under it, or around it. Okay.
Mm.
It's just like the big wall in Israel and Palestine. Has that really stopped anything other than annoy people and make more enemies of each other?
Mm.
It hasn't really done it. But the irony is as Lenin would say, is that capitalists will gladly sell you the rope that's used to hang them. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what the Israelis did, because all the contractors on that wall were all Palestinian contractors. Okay. I mean, it doesn't get any more ludicrous than this. So what I have on my mind is something that really bothers me here. Is I picked up the New York Times today, and what do I see? We're in a pissing contest. The United States is in a pissing contest. Another one, gee, we have a lot of these, as of the last 15 to 20 years, ever since the imbecile George W. Bush came into the Oval Office. And we have now something starting as a confrontation with the Turks, as in Turkey, okay, as in our allies forever, all right? Some of the finest people I've ever served with and worked with, okay, in the field. I was in Russia working with the Turks. I have a very high opinion, and I can't imagine the Turks, who are always straightforward, straight speaking, would allow a situation like this to happen unless they were being provoked. They were being provoked for some stupid reason that America's thinking up to provoke another confrontation, another situation. The Turks. I've heard of everything, all right? The Turks, okay? Believe me, the last people we want to pick a fight with are the Turks, okay? Yes, and I have a good friend who's now a general of the Turk army. And believe me, he's level-headed, straightforward, and he explains every situation and the response to that situation. So I don't care what Donald Trump says or any of these other knuckleheads, okay, that have never served any time in a war, okay. By the way, the biggest military parade now is being organized in Washington from, what is it, the Lincoln Memorial across the Arlington Bridge there. Say what? For who? What does that resemble to you, Luca? I know what it resembles to me. It resembles the Kremlin, okay, the Red Square, and the row after row, army after army of soldiers, missiles being towed. He's even gathering all the tanks that are available to drive in this massive parade. Are you kidding me? Let me ask my listeners, are you kidding?
Let's make America great again.
Says who? First of all, okay, this knothead, okay, this knucklehead. So he's getting his underground oil pipeline built from Russia into America, okay? What part about you being manipulated, America, don't you understand? All right? And to show you how annoyed people get, what happened last week, Luca, on the last show? I get threats, I get warnings from Facebook. Oi. Okay, yes. Say what? I'm supposed to do what? Okay, I'm supposed to be afraid of what? Okay. That's what Americans need to start understanding, is you're paying for our government. You're paying, not some pimp politician who's claiming that he's paying for it. No, you are paying. Everyone listening, and then some, are paying for everything that happens, that goes on in the world, okay? I have something, since I'm so enamored with Donald Trump right now, all right? I had a good friend sit right at this very table that I'm sitting at, and it turns out that Dan Sheehan is the legal counsel for Iron Eyes Cody, the water protector in North Dakota. Well, very quietly, one thing you're not hearing about is that Mr. Iron Eyes, okay, the Lakota Sioux, okay.
You mean Chase Iron Eyes, right?
Yes, right. He is, yes, he organized the water protectors. Yes, he is standing by his guns. And Guess what? Somebody named Donald Trump is having the government prosecute him because he stood up to protect the Missouri River, and it was polluted. Yes, it did have a horrible oil spill in it because of this pipeline. Didn't hear much about it, did we, folks? Okay. Well, here's the deal: is Dan Sheehan, who is right here, right sitting where I'm sitting right now, he actually, is fighting the good fight, and he's not going to back down, and he's going to protect Mr. Cody, okay, Chief, okay, and Royce Gay, all right, the other sub chief, from this prosecution, all right, from this prosecution. But what do you hear for the American people? How about all the people that supported the water protectors in North Dakota at Standing Rock? All right, thousands did. But boy, they're not being told anything now. There was a big confrontation with a National Guard using exotic weapons on those protesters. Funny, you're not hearing about that now. Am I correct, Luca?
You don't hear much about Red Fawn either. Who? Yeah, there are people that disappeared.
There were nerve agents used. There was chafe used, aluminum chafe sprayed on them. Okay, and by the way, folks, you think, oh, that would never happen to me. I'll just keep my mouth shut and not say anything. Guess what? Okay, if you think that is the case, look at the flu epidemic now. Thousands of people have now died. Not some school teacher, one little school teacher with a couple of kids somewhere. Thousands of people are in the process of dying, okay? And as I said last time, what do? You look at the business quarter, and you can figure out a new epidemic per business quarter, all right? You think I'm wrong? Go back, do your own research. I'm tired of telling everyone about this. Do your own research. Yes, and the pharmaceutical companies are designing your lethal flu and mycoplasma combination. That's what's being sprayed on you. That's what's being sprayed on the West Coast. And what does it do? Look at the pattern of this thing. It goes from the west to the east, prevailing winds.
Right.
Okay. Yes. And as I said last time, what about those planes? Those planes just don't decide when they want to fly and when they don't. They have to have the Aviation Commission, okay, the FAA has to get up there and let those people know when to disperse this. So everybody's an accomplice in this. All right.
Yep.
Pharmaceutical companies, aviation companies, contractors. Oh my goodness. Oh, those contractors. Remember, I told you last 2 weeks, Oklahoma City was blown up by our own people. Oklahoma City was used to savage the very same people who fought our wars in Vietnam and the Gulf War. Okay. I'm one of them. All right. I know what happened. And what happens now is our own government is blowing up the records, calling it terrorism. And I've got the person that was offered the contract. He'll come on our show anytime we'd like him to. And he explained exactly who was paid, how much, and where it was done. And then number two was those good old Clintons, okay, making millions of dollars selling drugs to America. Isn't that funny? Isn't that heartwarming? That the Bush family cares about America that much. The Clintons care about America that much. All right. Well, I'm concerned about something here, Luca. What happens here? Okay, when we get people that help us in these wars of terrorism, they help us put their own lives on the line. As I personally saw myself in Iraq with Ali Saad Hassan. Okay, yes, he was the banker to Saddam Hussein. Okay, he helped us. He was helping us. He was giving us enormous amount of information. Abu Sager, he's known as Abu Sager. Go type in Abu Sager and see what happens. Okay, I guarantee it. You'll get a response. Abu Sager, S-E-G-E-R. Okay. Now Abu Sager was a was a recruit of mine, and I was part of the initial team that picked him up in the city of Samarra, Iraq. And he was helping us. He was giving us all kinds of information about the oil. Okay, the oil for food, corruption, all the rest of it. Okay, he was involved in virtually everything. He was Hussein's banker. Okay, well, Mr. Hussein's banker, and I tried and did everything I could to keep him alive because I knew there was plenty of interest, and he told me there were plenty of interests that would kill him. Yeah, he was beaten to death within a few hours, folks. All right, he was beaten to death by the CIA. Okay, the CIA actually picked him up in our custody, took him to Abu Ghraib prison, where he was beaten to death. His body was dumped off at the Balad Field Hospital. Gee, amazing how that happened. Okay, this is what we do to people that help us when they do something or become inconvenient. Hey, that's what happens. Saddam Hussein was our agent since 1959. Gee, what happened? Okay, what happened? He was hanged. Okay, and after we had given him up, he was hanged. Okay, gee, are we seeing a pattern developing here? I think we should. Okay, Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi. Oh, what a bad guy. Oh, yeah, he was a bad guy. But guess who he worked for? Any ideas, Mrs. Clinton? Hillary, all right? Hillary, whatever they call her now. Well, guess what? Remember her famous statement? We saw he died. Okay, excuse me. My sub-producer here has given me something. Oh, yes, the CIA also, this is something that the Clintons can understand. The CIA took control of the DEA to ensure continued flow of drugs to fund covert operations. Okay? Gee, what a nice group we have, the CIA, the Cocaine Importation Agency.
There you go.
All right? What happens when people step forward and say, yeah, these people are crooks? Guess what? They die, okay? They die. And what is Hillary Clinton doing now? After she and her worthless Frankensteinian monster husband, all right, turned in $10 million a month. That's how much they made in profit a month. And then when it looked like they were going to be exposed, the CIA, what's it do? Oh, hey, we got to create terrorism in America, in the heartland of America. We've got to blow up the building, the Murrah Federal Building. That's what happened. All right. Is there any questions about that? Even I, let's face it, I'm a C- intelligence level. Okay. That means most people are smarter than I am. All right. So I have to work harder than most people to understand what goes on. And when I heard that the Murrah Building in Oklahoma City was bombed, who on earth would even bother bombing something in the heartland of America? Those damn terrorists? Oh, it was domestic terrorism. Timothy McVeigh, right?
Right.
Well, folks, remember what I said. There's always a diversion, and they own the agency. Don't believe me on this one, but you should research it. The agency owns these six most powerful news and media agencies in America. And guess how they purchased those? With the selling of drugs from the Vietnam War and the Golden Triangle. Whoops. Big issue there. Okay, so can we believe anything the CIA says? Mr. Kennedy didn't think so. All right. And that's why we have a situation here. Okay. That's why I'm sure Donald Trump will never be assassinated. Okay. What did I say last week? If he wants to remain alive, keep his head attached to his shoulders, what does he have to do? He has to stand up to the agency. All right? He has to stand up to the agency. Otherwise, we're going to have another comparable situation. Now, I also just heard something too, okay, on the alternate media, that's sinister, the alternate media.
Right.
Okay. Hey, Ed Snowden, okay, the guy who has given us nothing but truth. And what have we done? We've vilified Ed Snowden right down to his toenails, okay? And what happened to the families, the poor families that knew that they were trying to help somebody special? There's a special place now that the agency is going to make sure that they can prosecute those families. Are we talking about the Rockefeller family? Are we talking about the Mellons? Are we talking about the Goulds? Are we talking about the Rothschilds? No, we're talking about families that have nothing, but they knew they had to do something right. And so what? They offered him shelter. They offered him shelter because he was doing something for you, United States. He was giving you something that you need to protect yourself and your family and your existence. He was giving something to you. What have we given him back? Name something we've given him back. Nothing except a hard time and a miserable excuse. Julian Assange, look what Julian Assange has done. I mean, he's exposed to you the evil nature of our whole government, from the Bushes right on down to Hillary Clinton, okay? That vile, thieving bitch, all right, drug dealing bitch. We're right in the middle of an epidemic right now. What are you people, what are you doing out there? You're all asleep. We're in the middle of an opium epidemic and a flu engineered DNA flu epidemic. What are you people sitting on your hands, spinning on your thumbs? What is going on here? Okay. Chelsea Clinton, okay, is coming out with a #1 book now. Okay. Yes, she's talking about what is it, the top 50 of the finest women in the world that have changed their world, changed it for the better. Okay, guess what #1 is? Guess who #1 is? All right, that lying, thieving, drug dealing bitch. Okay, her mother. All right, I don't even know. Hey, I don't even know if Chelsea Clinton, she doesn't even know who her own dad is. And I'm not going to sit still while I'm told about all these wonderful overachievers from Chelsea Clinton. Okay, Chelsea Clinton. All right. Webster Hubble, ring a bell. Chelsea Clinton, it should, dear old daddy. Okay, and there we go again. The ultimate Rose law firm. All right, gosh, look how many bodies it has produced. All right, who? Okay, let me see. Vince Foster. All right, people that got too close to the Clintons. There we go. All right, and that's coming out now. So what we have here is people that have tried to help Americans, and look at the way they've been treated and are continuing to be treated.
Right.
Wake up, people. Find out who these politicians are that are trying to destroy the people that have helped the American people, like Hillary Clinton. Okay? Perfect example. And let's stop them. Let's put them where they belong. The Bush family belongs in prison, making license plates and making better furniture. Okay?
Yeah.
Made by, and you can look on the bottom of it. It's stamped, made by killers that care. What would you term the Bush family? All right? Killers that care.
Well,
a kinder, gentler America, remember?
Right. All to make America great again. Yeah, right on. Wow.
All to make America great. Well, when wasn't it great? I'd like to know. What is it? What is with this knee-jerk nonsense that keeps spouting? And you look at the situation America's in right now. It's embarrassing. We've got a never-ending war in Iraq. Okay, we've got a never-ending war in the Philippines. Everybody forgets about the Philippines. We've got now a burgeoning war in North Syria, thanks to Israel. All right, we've got wars going on all over. Okay, mothers, you better think. When you wake up tomorrow morning, your first motto should be, look, tell your children, do not go in the military. Do you love your children? Well, fine. Pick up the paper and do some thinking. Put two gray cells together. Do not allow your children to go into the military. All right? And go ahead.
It's really true, Greg, because we're showing proof And you know, if Greg isn't proof enough, we're showing proof everywhere that, you know, war is wrong, and it's not. It's contrary to what humans are made for. It's contrary to what humans are. We're supposed to be about love and compassion and caring, not taking lives, and you know, butchering people like the Clintons have.
Well, I just want everybody to remember that Israel now is in a situation where they've drugged the United States of America into several wars and done their fighting for them simply because they sent some demolition experts over to the World Trade Center and they brought two major buildings down. And what happens? They still made money. Just ask Mr. Larry Silverstein.
Mm-hmm.
They slaughtered 3,000 Americans. Okay? I don't know what it takes to wake Americans up. They slaughtered 3,000 Americans. So what do? We go over and slaughter 1 million Iraqis? Okay? You know, there must be some sort of Hebraic mathematics that I'm not aware of that justifies all of this. Okay?
Right.
All right? So, by all means, that's what I had to say on this afternoon show. All right? Please, people, please wake up. All right? Oh, I have another from the chat room. Okay. When was America great?
Before we came here.
George Washington, the founding father. I'll pick on him. Yeah, because he was responsible. He was a surveyor. All right. All right. Wasn't he? He was a surveyor by skill. Yes, he was a general, sort of. Okay. And what did he do? He sponsored the annihilation, you know, of the Piedmont and Tidewater tribes, Native American tribes. That's slaughter. Not, hey, I want to be your friend kind of slaughter. No, a real vicious, skinning, butchering, torturing bunch of mayhem.
The New Yorkers have the New York tribes. Well, what's now New York? They have a saying. They have a nickname for him. He's called Hanadagayas, which means town destroyer, because he leveled 50 villages in one day in his scorched earth campaign. Oh, he also said there wasn't much difference between the Indians of the forest and the animals of the forest. They just differ in size and shape. The Indians were not humans. That's
we consider this man the founding father.
Right. That's one of his quotes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm confused. That's all I can say is I'm very confused.
Hey, we're just taught not to question anything since we're very young.
Authority. Mm-hmm. Question our own government. That's what we're seeing here. And believe me, people, I used to think that 40% will believe anything they see on the television. Well, I'm revising those figures. I'm convinced now about 95%. 95%, what they see on television, they actually believe it. Okay? Understand? And if there's any kind of reticence there, what happens? The TV, it's always on television, remember? The TV will replay and replay and replay till you actually start to believe it. Start to believe it. Now, I've been guilty of that. I looked at something from authoritative sources like Walter Cronkite. Hey, the most honest man in America, all right, when I was growing up. Hey, now I find out, no, he wasn't the most honest man in America. Who is this? What is it on CNN? This guy with white hair, okay? Young guy, youngish, white.
Anderson Cooper?
Yes, right. Do you really believe him when he tells you something? I know he's got that sincere little scowl on his face. Okay, but do you believe him? Would you put your child's life on the line to believe him?
Right.
Think about that, please, listeners. Please think about it, all right? When you're watching your child struggle with the flu right now, that's raging across America, please think about that, okay? Do you really trust those people that are telling you that you should have had your flu shot? Okay. Really? Okay. Does anybody want to bet their firstborn? I don't think so. Not in this case.
No.
All right. And by the way, I would like to see, and look at the profit margins, okay? Now, we've got the head of the CDC actually buying stock in Merck.
Mm-hmm.
That just happened. What, a few days ago? Cut, buying stock in Merck. Why would they do that? Why would she do that?
It's all money. It's all it is. Greg, speaking of that, I'm going to continue my snapshot real quick because we're.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to this.
Because we're on a roll here. Some places, some people call sacred. Others call it a dump.
Where is that?
That's
is that
off
the
of
rubber
Florida.
sea?
It's off the coast of Florida.
Oh my goodness.
The same people that killed JFK are the same people that are in power now. It's something. It's something to think about.
I will second that.
Yes.
Why doesn't Donald Trump turn over the rest of those CIA papers?
Right. Your job gives you authority. Your behavior gives you respect. Something to think about. This is interesting. I ran across this a few days ago. Who's really to blame? After all, there are over 7 billion of you and just a handful of us. Ask yourself, who pulls the triggers? Who drops the bombs? Who pays the taxes? Who borrows the loans? Who buys the myths? Who writes his own? You know, who shuns his neighbors? Who looks the other way? And who sits around waiting for someone else to fix it all? Isn't that what we are constantly saying? Take a close look in the mirror. You might not like what you see. We're enabling this to happen. Israel is for one reason only, and that's the Rothschilds created it to hide behind the Jews. The U.S. is for one reason only. The Rothschilds are using our military to take over the Middle East to complete the New World Order. This is what we're trying to tell you. And meanwhile, my cognitive dissonance is killing me because people just don't want to wake up. This is what we're supposed to be living. This is where we come from right here, what you're looking at. We're born from earth and we go back to the earth when we die. We're all supposed to be on a spiritual journey. This is on the other side of the spectrum, following our own path, letting our heart lead where we're supposed to go. Just try not to step in anything, right? And bring friends along. This is what we're supposed to be living right there in that look. That look tells us what we're supposed to be living and who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing. If every 8-year-old in the world is taught meditation, we will eliminate violence in the world within 1 generation. Okay? That's something to think about. Because, you know, it's what we learn as kids that really change us and make us who we are as adults. Now, this is the last one I'm going to show, Greg. This is priceless because this is part divide and conquer, and it's also a big lie, right? A sweat lodge can kill you. No, it can't. A sweat lodge done by the right people in the right frame of mind and the right spirit is the highest form of respect that you give to human life and to Mother Earth. You cannot, you know, I couldn't believe this when I saw that. A sweat lodge can kill you. Okay, so they use that to tell you that a parked car can also kill your dog. Don't leave him in the car. But this is, you know, as small as it seems to the average person, it's putting the idea in your head, oh my God, a sweat lodge can kill you. Oh, that's horrible. And that's a classic example of divide and conquer and of propaganda, basically.
And, taking a shot at Native Americans.
Exactly.
I find that interesting since I am half Scots, half Native American. Okay. So, boy, they don't discriminate when they set out to target a certain group of people, do they? All right. Well, thank you, Luca. Hey, I think we're pretty close.
Yes, we are.
But hey, you know, now we have some great transmission, and the sea is wonderful out here, except for the chemtrails. Okay,
Right.
Remember those chemtrails, folks. They're sprayed over the West Coast, and they're allowed to seed, drop down all those little refractory aluminum particles, all bearing mycoplasm molecules and viruses that are genetically engineered. Well, don't forget those, folks. As you watch your children come under direct attack, to get those business quarter profits up. All right. Just think about that. Remember where you heard that. All right. And I'm not concerned if I get another threat from Facebook. Oi, oi. Remember that? Facebook. Okay. You can't say anything that contests Mr. Zuckerberg's perceptions of Israel and his fondness for Israel.
Right.
All right. Where was Mr. Zuckerberg born? America. All right. And now all of a sudden he's born again. Oi, to a caboose. Okay. I wonder who actually put that money up and actually steered his career. All right.
Yeah.
You got it in both ways. Yes. And good night to the AIPAC folks. All right. As they're busy subjugating America, and they've done a good job. All right. Remember the host and the parasite. That's what we have here. Okay. All right. That's it for me, Luca.
Thank you, Greg. And we'll talk again. And I just keep wanting to say every single show, saying thank you for all the notes that I have here on the bushes, on Agenda 21, on the Big Four, I've got them everywhere, and I'm a better person because of this show. So I'm a better person because of you, Greg, and what you're offering to this show. And I can't thank you enough. So peace.
Well, don't thank me too much. I don't want to have my car blown up. Okay. I don't want to have people around me, killed and murdered.
No.
Okay.
No.
So don't thank me too much. Okay.
Okay.
That's the way these folks work. Remember. Okay, my friend.
Well, for anybody listening, it's got nothing to do with him. He has nothing to do with this show at all, and he knows nothing at all. So don't bother him.